Okay, hello and welcome everyone to another Affiliate Summit webinar. Firstly, it's great to see so many of you joining us here today. I'm joined by a fantastic panel who will be showing you just how to achieve high ROI influencer partnerships. But two quick things just before we hand over to them to make sure that you can make the most out of today's webinar. So firstly, this is a great opportunity for you to have any questions you have answered by these speakers. So if you have any, just pop them in the chat function during the webinar and we'll answer a couple throughout and at the end. There's also going to be a poll popping up on your screen during the webinar, which we want to hear your thoughts on. So please do join in with that when it does come up. And that's it for me. I'm going to hand over to Corinne, who's the Director of Influencer and Brand Partnerships at CJ Affiliate. Over to you, Corinne.
Awesome. Thank you, Jamie. Welcome, everyone. I'm Corinne Travis, Director of Influencer and Brand Partnerships at CJ Affiliate. For those of you joining who aren't familiar with CJ, we are a global performance marketing technology leader that delivers accelerated content and influencer marketing solutions with our technology, data, and expertise. So I have spent over 8 years as a student of influencer marketing, watching, learning, participating as the industry has evolved from a buzzword to a real integral piece of digital marketing strategies. Like many of you here today, I, myself and my team, we've questioned how best to vet and cast the right creators and really effectively define and measure success of those campaigns and partnerships. We've worked with influencers on a transactional basis that have not converted for our clients and left us disappointed. And we've also worked with partners and created those partnerships that really exceeded client expectations. And it turns out that there really is a formula for success and it can be replicated. So I'm here today with a great roster of talent, Bhavin Desai, VP of Product Strategy at CreatorIQ, CJ's newest strategic partner, and a content creator that I've had the pleasure of working with for years now, Jess Keys from The Golden Girl. You also might notice that we're actually down a panelist today. Grace Atwood from The Stripe is unable to join us. She had a last minute emergency and we're definitely going to miss her unique voice today, but I'm really confident that with Jess and Bhavin, we're going to have a really super valuable conversation and answer a lot of questions that you've had maybe over the past few months or years that you've been investing in influencer marketing. So on today's webinar, we'll discuss the simple but very critical steps that marketers should take to build those high ROI influencer partnerships. And these are the partnerships that are really going to drive the growth for your brand and also benefit the creators and your customers. So we have a lot to dissect and discuss today, so I'm going to just really jump right in. So Bhavin, CreatorIQ is all about helping brands use data to create those long-term influencer strategies. And that is just one of the many reasons that I'm excited you're with us today and we get to speak about this. CJ and CreatorIQ recently formed a strategic partnership to pull publisher and creator audience metrics into our platform from CreatorIQ to aid CJ's teams and advertisers in finding the most relevant partners. In our past conversations, Bhavin, we've talked a lot about this idea that there really is a simple formula for achieving high ROI influencer partnerships, and it revolves around relevancy. So the idea is highly credible brand partnerships plus high relevance to a creator's audience equals high ROI. So Bhavin, how do highly credible partnerships with high relevance translate into a high ROI for brands? What have you and CreatorIQ seen? Uh-oh, I think we're muted.
I was muted. Apologies. So it's a great question there. I think just as some background here. So CreatorIQ has been in kind of has been an enterprise influencer marketing platform for several years now, and we've been there, similar to you, Corinne, where we've seen the needs evolve as well, right? From being very tactical, one-off influencer kind of executions to longer-term brand partnerships. And when it comes to conversion, et cetera, and value, definitely relevancy and authenticity are the key here. And what we're seeing from the partnership perspective here is that it's actually also around kind of long-term value as well for both sides here from that perspective. So one of the key aspects that we've seen evolve is when brands are looking at creators that authentically represent their brand, authentically have content that's relevant to that audience as well. Those two pieces combined with that brand relationship lead to really successful outcomes. And what do those successful outcomes actually mean? So one of the things that we see from a data perspective here is that if you look at just organic brand awareness, when brands are working with more authentic creators rather than just the kind of the high-off one-off type approaches, the engagement is so much higher. It's usually approximately like a 3x engagement increase when you have engagement rate increase when you have more authentic and relevant creators partnered with the brands. But the one part that people don't really look at is actually because the industry's been so focused on like campaign by campaign, the value that you actually get from a longer term basis is actually like 10x what you would get from a normal one-off influencer partnership, just because of the value. Typically these things turn into multi-product, multi-year relationships and true partnerships that continue to evolve over time as well. So that's been one of the big things that we've seen from the CreatorIQ side.
Oh yeah, I believe that. So what are some data points that kind of indicate an authentic audience or an authentic creator? Do you have examples of those that you can share?
Yes, absolutely. So from one of the pieces that we see often is the brands that creators are mentioning, right? So one of the things that brands look for when they're looking for authenticity is they're looking for creators, not just the sponsored content, but actually looking at, hey, these are the types of products, these are interest affinity. So one of the things that CreatorIQ does is we have extensive modeling and data science on our side that looks at what creators are posting about, what is the type of content, what is their audience demographics and audience interests, to build that picture that allows you to start understanding what are the actual interests that align. So if you're in the beauty space looking for creators that consistently have similar interests and similar categories that they post content about, but also are affiliated or not affiliated, but working and leveraging products or services that align with that brand's kind of outcomes as well. So that's another key area that we're able to see from the data that's available from these social platforms. And that kind of brand affinity metric is not just a one-off type piece as well, right? Because there's also kind of like tone and kind of content style, etc., that comes into play as well. So like being able to analyze from a visual perspective, these are the kinds of things that creators post about. So people are posting very family-oriented content with children and things like that in the content, or outdoor content where you can see where people are posting outdoor content about hiking and outdoor activities. We're able to see that from a platform perspective and bubble up those creators that are more actively aligned with the brand.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I've seen that. It's been very helpful. So this formula for high ROI partnerships works both ways. Highly credible partnerships are critical for creators like Jess as well. And Jess, we've worked together quite a bit the past couple of years. And I know that brand partnerships that are relevant to you and your audience really helps drive who you work with. So how do you, Jess, stay on top of what is relevant to your audience?
So I think, Bhavin, everything that you said really hit the nail on the head. And I think especially with authenticity, it goes both ways, because the influencer and the brand have to have a really authentic relationship, but the influencer also, in order for that to translate and convert, the influencer has to have a really authentic relationship with his or her followers as well. So I think the biggest way that I keep my pulse on that is that I think of my readers and my followers as my online girlfriends and my online family. I'm constantly asking them for feedback. I'm asking them how I can help them. What kinds of things are you guys struggling with right now? Is there any particular topic that you aren't seeing anywhere else that I can help you with or that I can talk about? And I think it's just being real, showing up. And again, this is very anecdotal. So Bhavin's team and CreatorIQ have done something that is so amazing in really like translating this into data points. But what I can speak to anecdotally is I find that the more you show up on Instagram, just face to camera in stories, maybe you don't have makeup on, you know, you let people see your authentic self and you let people see that you're a real person. Those are the kinds of influencers that readers feel really, really connected with. Versus, you know, remember when Instagram started and everything was about being pretty and like how stylized your feed was and how perfect all the images were. And that's just not, of course, there's a place for that now. And there are always exceptions, but just from what I have seen, people just react so much better to real life, unfiltered content. So that's really what I try to focus on.
Yeah, and I bet that's, I mean, I've seen that really evolve just within the past year. I feel like COVID has kind of taken us back to OG influencer marketing, where it's really just letting people in and showing that side. Yeah, that definitely translates. So how does that really inform your decisions about the types of brands that you work with and how you partner with them? Yeah.
So I typically, and this will vary from influencer to influencer widely. So I can really only answer for myself, but I know it kind of the same kind of applies to just like my influencer friends as well. I am very picky about the partnerships that I take on. I don't do a lot of proactive pitching unless it's a brand that I just really love and I'm obsessed with. But I don't just go out pitching to see who will pay me because I think it's really, really important that like trust is everything with your audience. And the second that you are posting something that you don't really believe in and you know you aren't as enthusiastic about as you're pretending to be, I think people see through it and they don't trust you anymore. And I would always much rather have a small handful of brands that I have long-term partnerships with, then my readers know when I'm posting that brand, it's the real deal. If Jess is endorsing it, she believes in it. And like what you were saying, Bhavin, I think the long-term relationships are really important. So that is what I try to focus on. And I typically won't take on a partnership unless it's something that I already use, I'm already a fan of, or something that I'm more than willing to spend a lot of my own money on. So,
yeah, I think that's a really interesting point because I think that a lot of brands they see influencers that are already promoting their product and they actually go the other way and look for a white space where there's people that aren't already promoting them. And you're saying you should focus on the creators that are already talking about you because that's an authentic match and the readers, the community has already built that trust and know that that really is a brand or product that, you know, Jess likes.
Exactly, 100%. And I wish that's something that more brands understood. So if you're listening and you work on a brand, I hope like if you take one thing away from me, please take this away, is that yeah, if you find the people who are already like evangelists for your products, you want to identify those people and you just want to pay them to scale up their content. So for example, if an influencer, if you're noticing, and I find what's really interesting is that a lot of brand teams aren't really connected and in sync with their social teams. So a lot of times it's not really apparent to the people on the brand team what influencers are already organically tagging them and posting about them. And if an influencer wants to work with you and they just love your product and they're already buying it with their own money, they're going to be tagging you, hoping that you will see it and that you will want to work together. So that is something, you know, I would take away from this is work closer with your social teams. But yeah, you want to reach out to them and say, oh, like I loved the stories that you did. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you love this product. Would you like us to send you this product to try? I think you'll love it. And by the way, we have upcoming budget for our Mother's Day campaign, and we'd love to consider you. Would you mind sending over your media kit? Or even better, saying, is the email that you have listed in your bio correct? If so, I will send you an email about working together. So yes, and I find those are the partnerships that are always a match made in heaven, and those are what are really going to convert for you.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And on the CreatorIQ side, I know that there's a way to see the number of matched posts. So if you're looking for a similar brand, or you're maybe looking up who's working with a like brand, not necessarily a competitor, but you know, many brands have other brand affinities that their audience, you know, the audience is shopping at both places. So there's a good way to kind of look up matched posts for that and really kind of find that relevancy indicator.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would oh, go ahead, Jess.
Go ahead, Bhavin.
I was going to say, just to add to that, from the other side, on the CreatorIQ side, where we see brands struggle is how to identify those creators, but also then do it at scale as well, right? So they're trying to figure out like how can we take that authentic approach, but work within this framework of there's millions of people out there that we could work with. Who are the right people, right? So one of the things that we've done on our side is built out our data science capabilities to help find things like lookalikes, for example. So here's someone, Jess, this is a perfect creator that works for us, is very well aligned. How do I find more people like this without just going down the standard path of like, let me look at these audience demographics, let me look at this interest, let me use these 17 different filters to try and whittle it down to what I think is, but instead let the machine tell you, hey, here are like 6 other people that have very similar profiles to Jess, right? That might be worth reaching out to, and start surfacing some of that, and being able to learn from that. Say, oh, this person is great, this person's not so good, and continue to learn from that and evolve so that you can do it at scale. Because as that market is evolved, you can see where, you know, it's gone from these, some of the way that the market has evolved has led to a lot of like a lack of personalization in that process, in that outreach, in that communication, in that relationship. So, but there's ways to achieve the best of both worlds here, which is how do I work with increase the people that I work with, but still leverage that authenticity and have people that are aligned with my ethos. And that's where CreatorIQ is really focused.
Jess, have there been times that you've stretched and maybe worked with a brand that wasn't like a perfect fit, and what happened? How'd it go?
So I definitely in the beginning, especially right when I went out on my own and was really trying to make my blog work full time, you know, years ago, absolutely. It's a lot harder to, you know, turn down money in the beginning. So yes, for sure. I have only gotten, you know, more choosy as time has gone on. I'm very lucky to be in a place where I can turn down most partnership opportunities at this point. And, you know, I've been working on diversifying my income streams so I can be more choosy. But yeah, I mean, I've just found, and again, it's trial and error. And that's kind of how I learned, you know, the less partnerships you do, the higher you convert for the ones that you are doing. And, you know, the more affiliate income you're going to make, and the better you're going to come through for your brand partners. And in turn, they're going to be willing to continue these long-term partnerships and up your rates as you grow. And it's better for everybody that way.
Yeah, I was going to follow up and ask when you said like diversifying your income, and you mentioned affiliate. So does that really play into some of those long-term partnerships, or I should say, how does that fit in to those long-term partnerships?
Absolutely. I think the best kind of influencer campaign or influencer strategy definitely has both parts of, you know, the paid sponsorships in exchange for, you know, X and Y deliverable. For example, you know, like Corinne, like we're doing right now for a Blue Apron, like, we want to pay for X amount of stories and X amount of blog posts. But in addition, you know, every influencer also receives X% of every sale, or a flat fee, or however you want to negotiate that. But I think that works really well because it incentivizes influencers to continue posting in between sponsorships and activations. And you know, I have partners I've worked with 2 years ago that I love, and they're amazing brand partners, but maybe they just don't have the budget to pay a sponsorship right now, but I still love them and I'm incentivized to still share about them because I can still make commission. So I definitely think that those two parts work really, really well together.
Yeah. I mean, it plays a big role. Affiliate plays a big role because you, like you said, you get paid on those commissions that happen outside of the contracted work. It allows you to earn that additional revenue. It allows for tracking of those additional mentions so that brands can see, hey, Jess is still promoting us even though we're not paying her. So when we do have that budget back, we know who to go to really scale up.
For sure.
And tracking on both sides, you can see how you're converting or the traffic that you're driving to kind of aid you in those conversations when maybe you did want to take it a step further with a brand because you're really seeing that engagement with your audience.
Exactly. And even with, you know, analytics for optimization, that tells you so much, saying, okay, let's try doing this story series, and then we're going to compare it to see that performance, to see how a, you know, a blog post mention performs, and do those things work really well together? Do they work better separately on separate types of activations? I just think that there's so much more to affiliate other than just like an exchange of a commission fee. The data that you get behind it is extremely valuable.
I can talk to that a little bit, Corinne, as well on the data side, because it's 100% right, Jess. And from the brand's perspective as well, it's basically the difference between just another sponsored content post and actually achieving kind of that longer term objective, right? And having those conversion metrics also really allow you to see much more clearly the effectiveness of your influencer program as well, right? It's rather than just kind of like fuzzy brand awareness metrics. I think is that the things have evolved now from like having just like that brand awareness goals to actually having performance goals as well around these things. And to your point, when the side effect of you from the creator side posting more often because that commission is a motivation also drives brand awareness as well for essentially no added cost from the brand's perspective. So it's a great deal for both sides.
It is. Yeah, agreed. Oh, did we lose
Corinne? Corinne is frozen. Well, we can have a conversation, Jess. Oh, there you go. Corinne's back. Can you hear us?
Here she is.
Here I am.
She's back.
So anyway, sorry about that. I don't know what just happened. But that's a great segue into talking about metrics and success and really defining those metrics. So I know I've worked with several brands that have different metrics that they use to measure success and different KPIs. And it's really been interesting kind of watching how that has evolved over the years and where it's going. You mentioned kind of those performance metrics that are a little bit more or way more, you know, I don't want to say trending, but they're way more prevalent now than maybe they were when influencer marketing started. So we're definitely going to dive into that next. But before we do want to ask our attendees a question around how they're currently measuring performance or success of their influencer campaigns. I think we have an attendee poll now. How do you currently measure the performance or success of your influencer campaigns?
I'm very curious.
More than one. I know, because I think I know, but I could be surprised. Okay, yep. Okay. So sales, so engagement is still pretty high. Not sure other, yep. Sales is highest, that makes sense. Given the affiliate audience, engagement is still pretty high. Like I said, traffic, reach. I guess that's kind of what I was expecting. Good to know, good to see.
Yeah.
Okay, are there any other audience questions, Jamie, that we might want to take a pause and?
Yeah. So there's been loads of questions flying in, which is really great to see. I think we'll look at two or three of them now quickly, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So this was an interesting one that's just come through from Julia. So to what extent is product gifting / seeding an important incentive for influencers to partner versus commission plus a great offer / price / story to tell?
So do you want, Corinne, do you want to answer this? Do you want me to answer this? Or?
I think you can go ahead and answer it, Jess.
Okay, so this is a fantastic question, and I love that you're asking this because, so also for background, I come from an ad agency background. So when I see brands doing things that I know have poor ROI, it like makes me, a little bit of me dies inside. So I think product gifting is important, but only if you are reaching out to each influencer individually and confirming that A, they want what you're going to send them, B, they get to choose, if possible, the products that you're sending, and C, you don't send any extra fluff. I know that like big fancy PR packages are very like fun and they sound really cool, but when you get like 20 of them arriving at your door all the time, they get really overwhelming, and they actually just stress you out, and you end up giving it to your mother-in-law, and like it never sees the light of day or an Instagram story or anything like that. So don't waste your money on those. But at the same time, if you establish a genuine connection with an influencer, and again, if you can get that list of really great influencers from Bhavin's team, then you'll be able to reach out and say, hi, we love your brand, or we love your blog, or we love your Instagram. We'd love to send you some products. Here are some choices. Here are some of our best sellers. Let me know what's of interest to you if you're open to receiving this. Then I do think it's important to have commission, because then you can follow up and say, your products are in the mail. By the way, we are on XYZ affiliate platform and we offer X commission. If you do decide that you really like the product and you'd like to post it, go ahead and use this link or something, and you'll get X amount of money for it. Additionally, I think it's really good to give people a discount code. This is something I wish brands would do more of, is give an influencer a discount code even when it's not a paid partnership, because that's something that's really easy to measure on your end, and it's something added for, like I always like when my readers can get a discount. So I'll always throw that up on an Instagram story if I've been trying out a product and I really like it, because I know I'll get a question anyway, is do you have a discount code? And then I think having budget for a sponsorship fee is also important. I know you can't afford to pay everybody, but I do think it's becoming more important to pay people for their work if you're asking for specific deliverables. I think if you're sending PR products, you can't ask for anything in exchange. You just kind of have to hope for the best and hope it's a good fit. But I will say, when I'm getting inbound emails asking for if I can look at product or review product, if a brand says, I have budget and I would like to pay you if this is a fit, I will always open the email. I will 90% of the time probably not even open the email if it's just a PR, if it's just a product request email, to be honest. So that was a really loaded answer, but I hope it was helpful.
I think there's also some kind of going back to what we were saying before, if you're looking at who's organically talking about you, and you might see that influencers are tagging me often, and maybe you have a new product or a new version of the product, and you know that they're already brand loyalists, that could be a really good place to start. And also kind of knowing that maybe you're just, and maybe even saying like, we're starting here, we want to scale our influencer marketing, we hope to have budget, and we're really just testing the waters with this. So letting the influencer know that, again, there's more to come if there's success.
Exactly. Because that's more motivation to post organic stories too, just knowing that there's the possibility of working together in the future.
So let's take one more quickly at this point then, just because I think this one overlaps quite a bit with what we were just answering. So I know many of the influencers still collaborate on a pay-per-post type of capacity. Are influencers adopting the affiliate model to collaborate with brands? From my experience, I find many influencers don't even want to be an affiliate. how do you find influencers to collaborate on a commission/affiliate model?
So from my perspective, I think that you need both. Absolutely, no questions asked. They complement each other. I think it's really hard to, and I think it depends on the kind of influencers that you're working with. And you'll find more influencers who are just starting out, maybe have a smaller but really engaged audience. They might be more willing to work off of just an affiliate model. But if you're trying to work with anyone that's a little bit more advanced in their career, a little bit bigger than that, they're not really going, it's just not going to be enough. So I think paid works really well to, get over the first hurdle and establish that relationship and establish yourself as a credible partner who really values, what your influencer partners bring to the table. And then, like I said, I think the affiliate model kind of is peppered in as a secondary type of strategy, but I think it's kind of a 1-2 punch for sure.
I also think that it's important, again, going back to who's already talking about you. If there's someone that's mentioning you and they're not using an affiliate link, that is a great way to open the conversation and say, we are a part of CJ and sign up here and you can pull links and earn commissions. Did you know that? This is the network that we're using. Because a lot of influencers, and Jess, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of when you're using affiliate links, it is more in that organic content, right? So you're doing a roundup of your favorite posts favorite products, just for an example, in a post, and most of it is probably not paid. You're pulling in some of your legit favorite products. And if you have an affiliate relationship, you're going to be linking out. But again, correct me if I'm wrong, it is probably not part of your workflow on a daily basis to log into all the affiliate networks that you're a part of and see what pending offers you have and what brands might be a fit for an upcoming post. It's just, that's not really part of the workflow, right?
You're spot on. I think affiliate's great for monetizing things that I already love and I promote organically. But if it's a brand new brand to me, I'm not really going to be interested in taking and saying, yes, let's just do an affiliate partnership typically.
And the best way to kind of introduce that brand new brand to you is with a flat spend to kind of get the foot in the door. And there's ways to negotiate, right? Every blogger, every creator has a package, and you don't have to go in with that high package rate, right? You can kind of negotiate just a link in a post or an Instagram story or something that is getting your foot in the door where that creator gets to try the product. And again, I think understanding that creator and understanding their audience is huge, because if it's a brand that they've shown affinity towards like brands in the past, then you might have a way in. But if it's, I don't know, something that really they've never mentioned anything like it before, then it probably will fall flat.
Yeah, and you kind of have to approach it like, it's kind of like a date, right? If you're courting an influencer and like the ball's in their court and you're trying to be like, please like me, and all you have to offer is a free product and 10% commission, it's not a very lucrative offer. But if you have this amazing product and here's XYZ reasons why this is a fit for you, and here's XYZ reasons why we love your brand and we want this to work, and by the way, we offer X commission and a flat fee, that's a lot harder to say no to, and that's a lot more enticing.
Perfect.
Yeah, with all the emails and DMs that you're getting, I'm sure it's many. So to really cut through the noise, that's what speaks to, having those, you open your emails versus, a pending offer of 5% commission for a brand you haven't heard of before.
Oh yeah, I would know. That's not even a consideration. But also and this is totally not to your point, but kind of an offside, that's also such a good reason to work with a company like CJ, because I know when Corinne is emailing me, I'm going to open the email always because I have a relationship with her versus if I'm just getting a random one-off email from a brand I've never heard of, or an agency that doesn't do a lot of influencer work, so therefore I'm not familiar with them. It's a lot harder to establish a connection and have influencers open your emails just because, like, you know, there's 200 emails at least in my inbox at any given time. So it's just hard to sift through all of them. And that is, you know, working with a really established partner is a great way to stand out for sure.
Cautious of time, so I know we're a couple of questions in. I know you guys have a lot more you want to cover on the formula. So we'll leave questions for now. We'll try and cover one or two at the end as well. Corinne, just one thing that came through that I think people just want clarity. You mentioned that the formula at the start. Would you mind kind of repeating that formula for high ROI again, and then I'll leave you guys to continue.
Yep. So it's highly credible brand partnerships plus high relevance to the creator's audience. So credible brand partnerships, relevance to the creator's audience, yielding a high ROI equals a high ROI.
Yeah, and I think we're getting into the measurement piece now, Corinne, about a little bit more detail there.
Yep. Yeah. So on a daily basis, I'm helping brands really discover the right creators for them, and also then how to help measure the results across channels, across platforms. Two areas where I've seen brands struggle the most is how to define how to define success and how to measure success, especially in the affiliate channel. So Bhavin, I'd love to know what you see on your side, on your end, on how brands are approaching measurement, how it's evolved over the years.
Yeah, sure, and it's definitely evolved and grown, I would say, and it comes down to a key statement here, which is basically measurement is only as good as the data that you actually blend together. In terms of actually setting up what your goals are, right? And what do you consider success? So if you look at what's happened over the last few years, a lot of brands just started with like organic measurement, likes, reach, comment, etc. Right? Like that was the core focus. And one of the other questions that I saw in here was like, you know, how influencers that are not attracted to affiliate. From our side, we definitely see that as the trajectory. Everything is going towards this approach, and where those things are coming to play now is it's really measurement, which is a combination of organic performance, paid media performance as well, where they're leveraging creators' content for authentic advertising as well, not just kind of the initial piece. Again, the extending the lifespan of the content and of those creators, and then performance, right, which is where the conversion and affiliate part comes in. And those three things together really form that holistic view of what success looks like from a brand's perspective. And we're seeing more and more because just as a heads up, CreatorIQ works only with brands, and we allow brands to work directly with creators themselves. We're not a marketplace, etc. like that. So brands are building those relationships directly. And where we see the most success is brands that are leaning into that other end of the scale, where it's not just about organic, but taking this combined view of what performance looks like. And the ones that work really well are the ones that actually have those goals shared with their creators. They're saying this is what we're looking to achieve, and this is what good ROI looks like from a brand's perspective. And then there's clarity on both sides around what does success look like, how creators are continuing to post more content and leverage more content. And on the brand side, they're just getting a much longer lifespan of that relationship, of that value, of that creator by leveraging those data aspects. And the great part about what we've done on the CreatorIQ side is make that as a unified view from a reporting perspective as well. So you can really see it very, very easily. Here's what we're seeing. Here's the people that are working. Here's the people that we need to lean in on further, etc. And get that. And very, very, very easy to prove the success of any specific campaign there as well.
Yeah. So you bring up a really good point, and something that the three of us have discussed. Definitely want to bring it to light again. So Jess, do brands typically share their goals with you? And kind of in what context are they shared, if they're shared?
So I would say it's still not a common practice, which I think is so interesting and surprising. To I don't know, to be paying influencers and like not giving them specific metrics and KPIs, but not everyone does it. I feel like CJ, you guys are kind of one of the industry leaders in this. You do a really good job of defining what success looks like from you know, a campaign execution standpoint, which I really appreciate. So I mean, sometimes it you know, if it's a product that's not sold online, that's a lot harder to measure. And then you get into the engagement and the traffic and, you know, some of the other metrics that people were voting on earlier. But I think when you can say, based on this price that we're paying you, we would be looking for, in terms of an ROI, we'd be looking for X amount of conversions. That is so powerful, because then that gives me the power to log in and look at my analytics and say, okay, this activation 24 hours after these stories expired, it looks like I have X amount of conversions. That didn't quite hit that goal. So I need to plan how I can do more organic posting later this month, so I can make sure that my very valued brand partner is getting their money's worth. I realize that a lot of influencers won't do that, but a lot of them will if they're really good long-term partners. And the people that do, those are the people that you want to keep working with. So right. That's so helpful for me, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, and so you brought up another point to that, though, is you're given the ability to, with networks, you're given the ability to log in and see that reporting. So if you're not working through a larger network, are those brands sharing performance metrics with you, or like code redemptions? You know, how are you?
Funny enough, I usually have to ask for them. It's not usually something that's top of mind, or something that is in any campaign report or anything like that. I think a really great standard practice to do would be to, you know, check in midway through the campaign with an influencer and say, hey, like, it looks like you've had, A, we've loved your content. Thank you. B, it looks like you've had X amount of redemptions. Whether or not that, you know, you killed it, you blew it out of the water, we're so grateful and we can't wait to work with you again. Or, you know, it looks like your redemptions came in a little lower. Or even if you like don't want to talk about the elephant in the room, even if you're just like, okay, like, here's how many I've redeemed so far, and they know what the metrics are and whether or not they hit it or not. So I think more data is never a bad thing.
Yeah, and so when you're looking at metrics, either you know, newsletter open rates or Google Analytics or Instagram Story Insights, what are you looking at on your end to see or to judge and measure success for you and for your platforms?
So short term, I look at the amount of swipe ups that I have on a given story, because that would indicate interest. That doesn't tell me how many people have purchased, but if I can kind of gauge the amount of swipe ups, and then I can log into my dashboard and see, okay, based on this, I've had X redemptions. You know, that gives me a really good idea of just my conversion rate in general. And depending on the platform, a lot of times it will just give you the conversion rate right out, you know, right in your dashboard. Other times you might have to like kind of back into it and do some math, but that's what I usually look for. And then long term, I think like what's always most meaningful to me is if a partnership is a success is if my readers are tagging me in their own stories of using the product, if they love the product, if they're anecdotally telling me, you know, sending me a DM saying, these leggings changed my life, like I'm obsessed with them, or you know, my husband's going through you know, nursing school right now, and I don't know what we would have done without Blue Apron. And just kind of getting that qualitative feedback always means a lot, because you know, you're really helping people, and that, you know, makes my day. So
yeah, for sure. Do you prompt your community to do that, your audience to kind of share their experience with brands?
So if it works out organically and it feels really organic to do that, yes, I will. If it's something that feels kind of out of left field and weird, then I won't. But a lot of times what I will do is I will screenshot feedback from readers, and you know, if you save it in a specific place in your folder, then I can save that for our next activation. Or sometimes I'll just repost it right away and be like, so glad that you loved it. You know, by the way, my Blue Apron code is still live. Like, swipe up to get $100 off or something. Because that's just like such great. I mean, it's amazing reinforcement that, look, other real people love this product, and it's not just me. I think the power of you know, a third party is always amazing to see. But yeah, otherwise I'll save them for my next activation, and it just provides a lot of social proof. So that's really helpful in further conversions down the road too.
Yeah. So you bring up an interesting point that I want to kind of dissect a little. I know we're kind of running up on time, but I think this would be really helpful for people to hear. So yes, you are not like all creators. So Jess does a lot of organic effort, you know, screenshotting those comments, going live with additional out of contract components. So how would a marketer kind of encourage that without being like, okay, well, it's contracted that you have to go out of contract, right? Because I think that I always see outstanding performance when the influencers, you know, promote outside of the contracted scope of work. But it's also kind of this fine line that you have to play with, you know, asking for that, right? Exactly. Or contracting it or guaranteeing it.
Right.
So what advice would you give to brands on kind of how to toe that?
So I think the first thing is providing the KPIs upfront is huge, because then the influencer goes in knowing that, okay, this is the goal that I need to hit. And if I can log in and see, or however they obtain this information of where they are in their goal, that's automatically going to really encourage organic posting. Just because you want to over deliver for your brand partners. That's just like kind of human nature, right? The second thing is that what you can do is provide other content ideas within your upfront creative brief. So, you know, give that as an example. Other really great content ideas could include asking your readers for feedback and screenshotting their reviews and reposting them along with your affiliate link. You know, just as an added bonus, remember that we offer X% commission. So you have the opportunity to make X% on top of this if you would like to do more organic posting. Another thing is at the upfront, when you're contracting them for a sponsorship fee, what you can do is, and again, like I also work with another brand on influencer strategy. So like we do some of this stuff. I don't see a lot of brands doing this, but I think that you should do the example math for them and say, okay, well, if you made this many conversions, which is our goal, and based on X% commission rate, you'll make an additional $500 to $1,000, for example. Because a lot of influencers don't really put together. They're like, okay, I just want the money. Like the person that asked the question, I just want the flat fee. But okay, do you understand that you're also automatically, if you hit this goal, you are also getting $1,000 more in your pocket automatically. A lot of people don't put that together.
And we'll work with you again.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And always being very upfront. If this works, we'd love to contract you for Q3. And they will, again, like just making sure they know that you're in this for the long haul. You're in this to be a great brand partner. This is not just a one and done activation for you. You'll always get so much more organic posting out of a relationship like that.
Yeah, I've seen it firsthand. Anything else to add to that, Bhavin?
I think Jess covered most of it. I think the one thing I would say is that that addition of measurement through affiliate also is what is from a brand perspective, at least one of the things that we hear about as well is that it's also just kind of more real, right? From a metric perspective, right? It's still a little bit of an issue, but one of the things that the influencer world has struggled with, obviously, is things around fake followers and kind of those kinds of like things that happen, and bots and things like that are happening. It's really hard to like mess with an affiliate conversion, right? Like if you're measuring based on sales, etc., it's much clearer to say, hey, this is like a real metric that means something against our investment, right? Like that's what we hear more and more often, and I think that's also what's driving both sides towards this kind of performance and conversion type measurement as well, alongside the traditional influencer measurement.
Absolutely agree with that.
Great. Well, I'm going to leave some time for questions, so we're going to kind of wrap this up here. That went by really fast. I kind of had a feeling that it would, because you both are very easy to talk to. Thank you so much to the audience for joining us today. Our panelists, a big thank you for your unique perspective and sharing your time with us. I think it's safe to say that we all definitely can apply something, learn something that we can apply in our next collaboration as it pertains to using data to determine audience and creator relevance, and to really build out those long-term authentic partnerships, which are the crux of achieving that high ROI, versus those transactional one-off moments where you're really just renting an influencer's voice and time. So again, the formula that we talked about, I know we said it a few minutes ago, but we'll say it again, that highly credible brand partnerships plus high relevance to that creator's audience is what is going to determine that high ROI. And then let's not forget the importance of sharing our goals and specific KPIs and metrics with our influencers to really help optimize that creativity, strengthen the relationship, achieve those goals, and really establish long-term partnerships. So if you like what you heard today or have any additional questions, I know we're going to have a few more minutes for questions, but in addition, you can reach out to us at cj.com. And yeah, thank you again.
Perfect. Well, yeah, thank you, everyone. So we've had loads of questions flying, which is great to see. Fortunately, we don't really have too much, or actually over time quite a bit, but I just want to kind of look at two of them, if that's okay. So the first one is, what are your thoughts about trying to make existing customers into affiliate partners versus professional/semi-professional influencers? Is the concept of affiliate marketing too complicated for regular customers?
No, I think that's a great thing. I think the only thing to be cognizant of is if you're leveraging, the platform that you're leveraging. So if you're gonna look at Instagram, for instance, and that comes to mind because they have the 10K limitation on swipe up. So if you're using, a customer that only has 500 followers, that's fine, but that takes away the swipe up portion of leveraging Instagram for those affiliate links, which might make Instagram a little bit harder. But I think that we're definitely seeing that trend to leverage real life ambassadors and customers because they're telling those authentic stories. I don't think it's too complicated. You just need to have an affiliate network that you can bring those ambassadors in.
Perfect.
Yeah, we definitely see that from the CreatorIQ side as well, Corinne. 100% agree that converting, it's really about converting your customers to be ambassadors and influencers and affiliates, right? Like, and there's definitely value to be had there, and we've seen that happening on our side as well.
Perfect. And then we've got one more, which is also for you, Corinne. Overall, how would you summarize what position CJ is taking in the influencer marketing world, partnering with CreatorIQ?
The position that we're taking on partnering with CreatorIQ.
In the influencer marketing world, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a very strategic partnership that is going to aid with our campaigns. And also we're leveraging that data to pull into our solution to really aid our teams and our clients in discovering new influencers within CJ and bringing marrying the two together, right? Within the current CJ platform, we don't have the robust metrics that we have that CreatorIQ has. So bringing that in just really helps bring all of those engagement metrics, audience metrics, affinities, everything we've talked about today, bringing that data into the hands of the CJ teams, our clients, and really marrying that data, technology, and our expertise all together, which we believe is the another formula for success, that data, technology, and expertise. I don't know, Bhavin, you have anything to add to that? But
yeah, I think it's that unified view, right? I think as we think about the kind of the convergence of these two areas, right? Influencer on one side and affiliates on another, they have a lot of overlap, and I think this partnership is literally the literal example of that convergence, right? And bringing those two things together, because they're kind of one of those where the sum of the two is definitely or the outcome is greater than just the sum of the two parts here, I think, from both sides.
Yeah. I mean, all affiliate personas have unique, data points to them, unique use cases, and I think influencers is new to some affiliate marketers. So we're very used to looking at that affiliate marketing data, which is still very important, but there's a whole other subset of data that we really do need to be looking at with influencers. And again, it's just the marrying of the two.
Great. Well, fantastic. Well, firstly, thank you to the three of you for kind of leading this session. It's been super interesting myself. And I apologize to the audience because with loads of questions coming through still, fortunately, I don't have time to answer them all, but I hope you all managed to take something useful away from the webinar. The window is about to close, and when the webinar window closes, a little pop-up will appear on your screen with just a few survey questions, if you all wouldn't mind. Just fill those out for us, because it really helps us see kind of how the session's been for you and what we can kind of do in the future. So thanks again to our three panelists and to everyone else for their questions. Bye now.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you.